out, and Windows doesn't want to recognize it. So I don't think it's YouTube's end. I think it's Windows just being shit. Again, as I said, when I get a new PC at some point, I'm eventually just going to go to Linux, I think. Right, I'll just do the chat window, as I always do, near where my phone is. So if you come on, it will be about there. Yeah, I always put the little chat thing right behind the thing. So when people type in the chat, I'm kind of looking at you when I respond to you. So there's that. So yeah, like I said, streamed a bit earlier today because later on tonight I'm going to be shaving all my hair off and then showering and everything to get all the loose hair off. I have to have a face shave as well. I won't cut the tash off, but I'll sort of trim it to a bit, you know, make it look a little bit neater, but obviously shave off all the stubbly sort of fluff on my chin. So like I said to people before, can't really grow a proper beard. Can grow sideburns a little bit, but I can only get a little bit of hair on my chin there. I can grow a tash, but not beard. So just close that. I just need to check that YouTube's not started any more streams, delete any that it's made any ones that aren't the current one. Yeah, it's just the current one. Good. Right. Anyway, all right, Rajiv. So yeah, I'll just go to this tab now, and like I said, I'll have the pop out thing. So the things like that there. But yeah. So yeah, I tried to set up with the webcam earlier on, all right, Rich as well, all right, Stalker. But yeah, I had the weird thing where it was cool. Yeah, like I said, don't really myself have any need for an old Zippo, but that's still cool. I'm all right, young, thank you. But yeah, like I was saying, annoyingly, yeah, the webcam thing was fucking up, and I think it was Windows just being really awkward with my webcam. But yeah, I'll try that another day. But yeah, like I said, the annoying thing is that Logi webcam wasn't cheap. In theory, it's a fairly good webcam, but yeah, it's like if I want to stream, it's actually better if I run a USB cable to this Osmo Pocket 3 in terms of like the resolution, the quality of the microphone. I mean, obviously I've got this mic, can't really see it, hang on, with, the PC, and this is a good swing out arm mic, it's very good, but, I have to have it at just the right distance and that, but this is actually much better for just streaming. It's just a shame that, what was I going to say, that with YouTube, if I'm streaming for over an hour, it does overheat a bit, because yesterday after I finished streaming, it had to do an emergency shutdown, so luckily I didn't stream for longer, because otherwise I think the stream would have just cut off, but yeah. So it seems that if you're in a room that's sort of, 20-something Celsius, you can only run this for about 2 hours maximum via the USB streaming option before it overheats. But otherwise it's pretty good. But so yeah, hello everybody. So there's no real theme for today's one, unlike the Kia Star one yesterday. I bought a really good knife sharpener. I actually bought two. I'll do a video on this one. This is like one of those kind of utility survival ones. So this one, if I pull it out, it's quite tight. It's got a ferro rod in it. So if I can get that to show up properly on camera. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so quite a good ferro rod. Won't do that too much in here on this one. So it's got the good ferro rod. It's got the typical, stage one. All right, normally glitch. Stage 1 and stage 2 knife sharpener, where it's really blunt, where you use the steel, then use the ceramic when you've got a bit of an edge on it. I know some people don't like this kind of knife sharpeners, but I find them handy. Like for my really good swords, I don't use obviously a knife sharpener like this. I use a, like Mike did my falchion at one point with a bout sander that was really, really good, because he knows what he's doing with that. I've got a whetstone and like some of the other sharpening steels that you can, go along a bit on the edge. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, Rich. I'll do it in the next few days, because I might as well do one of those videos per week with the Pathways ones. They're a bit different to make, because I have to get the AI assets, do the AI voice, put them together in the editor. Not many people have watched today's Pathways video yet, though, so I have done one covering the disgraceful Chagos deals. Yeah, I've got a Dremel and that, but yeah, there's lots of things like that, like Rajiv, but yeah, but like this one, I just find these handy. Like I said, I know a lot of people don't like these for really high quality knives, but they're so handy, and that, a lot of the knives I use are just cheap utility knives. Cheers to the people I've watched it. What I've got coming is I've got some more of my little metal like lanyard things coming, and then I'm going to probably put this on my keyring. Yeah, Kevin, it's just because I'm going to shave all my hair off later and then like have a shower and everything. So I'm doing the stream earlier, because tonight I'll be spending a good hour, shaving it, making sure I've got everything. then getting all the loose hair off. Then I have to probably moisturize my scalp, because when my hair is really short, and I'm like nearly bald, my scalp is really good as long as I put a little bit of moisturizer on it and whatever, you know, it's not eczema-y or dandruffy at all. As soon as I get long hair, I start getting bad dandruff. It doesn't matter how often I wash it, what kind of dandruff shampoos I use. So yeah, basically, when I've not got hair, I can keep my scalp quite clean and nice. When I've got hair, I can't. But the main reason I'm doing it is just because, yeah, when I'm doing videos with some of the gas masks now, they pull on my hair. And I like being bald for gas mask videos. Yeah, like I said, with my hair, I kind of have the receding hairline at the front, but my hair's all right on top. So I'm not one of those people that, because some of my friends are comedically balding, you know, where one of my friends looks like he's turning into a fucking monk with how he's balding like that. And I keep saying to him, shave your fucking hair off. You know, it looks awful like that. You wouldn't look as, you know, he wouldn't look anywhere near as bad with his hair if he just shaved it all off. But he has the, you know, really crap kind of balding, trying to comb his hair over. I was like, your hair's going, mate. Just shave it off and it won't look as bad. Yeah, exactly, Rajiv. I don't even have that problem too much, but like I said, for just masks in general, like hygiene, I prefer my hair being short on my head. But again, like I said, it's just my hair, and it's also because my hair is really thick, because my hair blunts hair clippers sometimes. And yeah, that's the other problem, is because my hair is so thick, like it, yeah, sticks up quite a lot. But like I said, the main issue I've always had is just dandruff, even when I, you know, like I said, wash it frequently and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm just gonna shave it off. Yeah, I notice my grey hairs, Rajiv, first in my tash. It's probably hard to see on a camera of this res. It's not going to be very hard to see. But when I'm shaving my tash, I notice that my like stressed grey hairs show up in the tash first, but I don't mind. Oh, this also has a sharpening like little needle on this, I think, for serrated edges, where you do that, you know, between the serrations. This has a survival whistle on it as well. Let's see if I can blow it. Yep, there you go. So it's got a survival whistle on this as well. Yeah, so this is quite good. So like I said, I am going to attach this one to my keyring, and I will do a video review of this one. So yeah, like I was saying, that it's not, you know, a lot of people don't like these knives and will be going, what the hell are you doing right now? But, you know, this does put quite a nice, you know, it helps keep these sort of blades sharp. You know, ideally you put on a table and pull it through on a flat surface, but so anyway, I got this right-wing thuggery. Yeah, that's right, Kevin. I'm actually a skinhead. The funny thing is, I quite like bomber jackets and things like that. I don't have any Doc Martin boots, because I always think Romper Stomper rather than American History X. But yeah, when I used to shave all my hair off at work, like I said, it'd be a thing I'd do every couple of months. My mate always come, like my bosses would always say, you know, the ones that had a sense of humor. They said, "Oh, you doing some hate crimes later today?" Or, you know, you should have your belts and braces on and all that. Yeah. So this one, anyway, so I got two knife sharpeners. I'm going to do reviews on both of them, just shorts. Shorts to start with, if people are more interested, I'll do a longer video. But like this one, like I said, is just like a decent pocket one of the best pocket ones I've actually seen, as opposed to, you know, like some of the ones that are just like that. Yeah, like I said, they were the kind of employers I liked, Kevin, because like I said, when in my old job, you'd have people that you'd get on really well within the job, but, you know, the job was still shit. And yeah, I saw one of my bosses when I was in the supermarket the other day after I left, and he like wished me well and did say that, you know, where he's working now, he could get me a job if I wanted it. And I said, to be honest, I don't really know what I want to do at the moment, and I'm quite enjoying just doing the YouTube stuff. And I've got some stuff, like I said, where I'm seeing some mates later this month where I want all that sort of stuff out the way with before I worry about getting time off, you know, from work for stuff like that. But anyway, so there's this sharpener that's good, and I've also bought an electric one. The first proper electric one I've bought with, you know, like that's designed for knives, not a utility flywheel. So it's like, because I know, again, this is going to be some things where people are like, oh, that's sacrilege. But if you're using it on cheap knives, or you're doing it properly, it's quite good, because it's got the coarse ones where you see loads of fucking sparks come out when you grind a knife through that. And then, yeah, you've got this sort of, you know, then you've got, like, again, like the ceramic type ones. It's also got a screwdriver sharpener and a scissor sharpener on this one. But I did have a go with a couple of my knives last night, and it did put quite a nice edge on them. Because, again, I've got some knives that are good knives. I just very, very rarely actually get around to sharpening them. You know, if they're not ones that you can easily do with this or a whetstone, I don't normally bother. Like, you know, it's normally my, like, good swords, I try and keep a good edge on using a proper whetstone. But when it comes to knives like this, I normally don't bother. But like I said, I've put a much nicer edge on that there, but this camera isn't good enough to focus on that, really. Unlike the DJI camera. And that's got a much nicer edge on it than it did. No, I don't make blades, Jay. I like knives, but I don't make them. I'm not skilled in any kind of smithing, things like that. But like I said, you know, like I said, a lot of the blades I get are like either the real or replica or bayonets and things like that. Not really Mason. It's obviously GOST threaded, not NATO threaded. I don't think I've ever had in public, but I've had it the way round that people find out when I've done jobs that I have YouTube, even if I don't directly tell them after a while, and then they start talking to me about my YouTube stuff. So, you know, where I won't necessarily mention to people that I've got a YouTube channel, or very casually mention it. Right, so you've already got a GP5, yeah, a Shum 62. It's basically a GP5 with a voice diaphragm on it. There's not really much else to say about it, you know. In theory, you can unscrew the little metal circular bit to take the voice diaphragm out or swap the voice diaphragm out. But in a lot of the old Soviet masks, because they've been crushed a bit in storage or they've rusted a bit, sometimes you can't ever get that bit off because it's, you know, essentially just sealed on at that point. Yeah, that's not bad price at all. Speaking of Soviet-style helmet masks, because I mentioned this the other day, but until they turn up, I can't do a video and then, you know, won't know if they're any good or not. This is a replica one. It's not a real one, but it works, as in it's the exact same fittings. It's a US M4 bayonet, which is the one that was used on the M1 carbine. So it's basically identical to the US M7 bayonet that's on the M16 when it came to the, like, you know, size of the blade and the profile of the blade. But it's a different handle. It's like these either had wooden or leather stacked handles. And obviously the lugs are designed to fit an M1 carbine. So yeah, I did get the M7 out yesterday when I was streaming. So yeah, just to show you. They use the exact same scabbard, by the way. US M8A1 scabbards on both of them. So this is the M16 one, the M7 bayonet. This is an M1 carbine's M4 bayonet, or M2 carbine, M3 carbine bayonet. Blade length is basically identical. I think the blade is basically identical on both of these. It's just the lugs and the handle are different for attaching one to the M16, this to the M4. Yeah, again, M1 carbines are one of my favourite guns of World War II, especially because of how light they are, which I think surprises people who haven't held them before. Again, I sadly can't, because of YouTube's policies, get my Diak carbine out, put the bayonet on and just show you how lightweight it is. But the fact that M1 carbines for a World War II gun that had wood on them weigh less than something like an M4, to me is kind of, you know, amazing how, especially when you consider the weight and sort of size of most World War II guns. You know, the fact that an M1 carbine with wood furniture is lighter than most modern guns of plastic furniture is kind of SMG weight as opposed to rifle weight. And again, I know it's not a full power rifle for full-on range, but it's still a lovely rifle. No, I don't think it has a different smell, Mason. It might ever so slightly. Again, I think there was supposedly a thing where the black Soviet masks were made for export or something like that. Is there any company that does good reproduction ones? Because I know there are companies. I've not got a proper K-bar, as in the one that's made by whatever company makes the K-bar. I've got, I will show you, I have got a replica K-bar somewhere, which I won't be able to show you because I don't know where it is. And I've got a replica of one of the Israeli knives that's based off of the K-bar. That's actually quite a good quality knife. So if it's still in this drawer, oh, there's a bit of plastic off that drawer because it's falling apart. Is that in here? Right. Which one's this one? This is either my good one or my shit one. Oh no, this is my shit one. So this is a knockoff K-bar, and you can see from how the metal is dented there. It's crap. This is the funny thing is this is M-Tech, but this one's awful. M-Tech. I've got some other M-Tech knives that are good, but yeah. So that's their knockoff of the K-bar, and this had a really bad edge on it, you know, and like the edge damaged really easily. Like, so, you know, you couldn't cut anything with it. It wasn't even sharp when it arrived. And when I sharpened it up, you know, the edge kept dying. So that's my crap one. But I do have, yeah, this is the good one. So again, very much styled on the K-bar, this one. But like I said, this isn't an authentic Israeli one. It's Sheffield, one of the Sheffield steel companies in Britain that makes really good knives. It's their like clone of it. But See, it's got a little Star of David on there. But this, and it's got that lovely little thumb bit there, so you can actually have your thumb on it like that. So it's a little bit different from the K-bar, but it's very much a Bowie style knife like a K-bar. This one's actually fairly sharp, you know, again, to just put the little edge on it a bit better. Again, I can't remember, annoyingly, where my really nice British Army knife is, that fucking huge one I've got, the MOD survival knife. Some of you will know the knife I'm on about when I bring that up, because I've got the British Army knife that looks like a K-bar on steroids, which is, again, was designed as just a utility knife. I think it's called the MOD survival knife, isn't it? But it's the one where apparently the British soldiers liked them in Afghanistan because they were really good for just smashing into like bits of walls to check for IEDs. I've got a C50. The C50 is my favourite mask in my collection in terms of practicality. The C50 I keep stored on my body armour in like a bug-out bag sort of set up on the body armour. And I've also got a camelback adapter for it. I've got on order from Avon, because they sell directly to the public now, the mirrored outsert coming for it, but I haven't got a delivery date for that yet. Yeah, exactly, Kevin. Other than the fact that the barrel's not going to have any wear on it, yeah, there's no point. Replicas are designed that they should be cheaper than the originals, not the same price. But yeah, like I said, Jay, I don't have a USMC K-bar. Ah, cool, that's nice. Yeah, thank you for your service then. But yeah, like I was saying, but yeah, the MOD survival knives are quite interesting because they're pretty big and bulky. But like I said, so this is my good K-bar knockoff, but you know, it's not a direct K-bar knockoff. I think the reason I never ended up getting a real K-bar was just they were stupidly expensive for what they were if you bought them directly from the K-bar, you know, making company. Can't remember what the company was called now, but you know, in the sense that like for that price, there were some really nice like Spyderco and Cold Steel knives you could get, or you know, other kind of things. So if at the point I'm paying for a K-bar the price I could get an actual good proper sword reproduction for, I would not go for a K-bar. Sort of into prepping, as I've said before. I find a lot of it interesting. I've got a lot of stuff, you know, that would be useful for prepping, but I'm not really a proper prepper, if that makes sense. So I find the stuff interesting and all that. And don't forget to like the stream, everybody. We've got, again, 40-odd people on today. But yeah, it's one of those things where I find the prepping stuff interesting. You know, with some prepping stuff, I do have some of it and would make use of it. Other stuff I've just got because I find it interesting. So I'm not one of those like bushcraft channels and all that, you know, would give you good advice on the stuff. But what I do try and do as well is that the stuff I am knowledgeable on, I try and, you know, give you good information on it, as opposed to some of the channels that are blatantly sponsored by one company, you know, like the ones that are sponsored by Myra and keep saying Myra gas masks are the best in the world, even though Myra don't make gas masks. They just resell Czech army gas masks at a stupidly inflated price. So, you know, like I said, like if I'm going to shill for a company like a gas mask company, I'm going to shill for Avon because, you know, the FM12, the S10, the C50, M50, actually good shit like that. Not Myra, where you have to pay almost as much as the real Avon prices. No, but I have made a kick now. So what I need to try and figure out how to do, and I know you can do it, but I've not bothered to figure it out yet, and, you know, get all the software installed, because I think you need a plugin for OBS to do it. So I'll probably not use OBS to do it because I'm not a massive fan of OBS. I'm probably going to try and do a thing where I dual stream to Kick as well as YouTube. So, you know, when I've got all that set up, when I do a stream on the PC using any of the PC webcams, I can't do it via the phone, I'll stream to Kick as well. So, because Kick is apparently quite good for revenue. Because I know Asmongold did a video where he was showing that even though he gets very similar amounts of viewers on Kick and Twitch, he got like $1 and a bit grand on Twitch for 1 month and 250 grand on Kick for, you know, having similar amount of viewers. So Kick obviously pays a hell of a lot better per advertisement or whatever else. The only way to tell if it's radium paint really is to get a Geiger counter or any other kind of radiation detector and put it next to it. Radium tends to look like this when it decays. Hang on a second. Oh, not decays, but radium paint tends to always go this ugly brown color because of how the phosphors, you know, the radium eats into the phosphors over time. So radium tends to look like that over time, but there's no real way of telling without Cheers, Mason. But like I said, I haven't used Kick yet, but it's just that, yeah, because people kept saying, do I stream to Twitch? And I have a Twitch account to watch some other streamers, but I don't really stream on Twitch. But yeah, it's just because apparently Kick is so much better in terms of their revenue share, or like, you know, how good their advertisers are. That is a thing that if I do stream on there, I'll try and do a dual stream. So that way I can just have 2 chat windows open. And if anybody asks me a thing, I can say this person on Kick said this. Yeah, but again, I don't use the Twitch to stream, so it's a bit pointless following me on Twitch, and I'm not planning on streaming via Twitch. I've got quite a lot of army surplus, yeah, but like, it's all of my stuff isn't particular stuff. So I've got a load of British Army stuff, got a load of not that much American stuff because it's quite hard to get over here. Loads and loads of European stuff. Again, I've got too much shit because if you can see behind me, that's all just a pile of surplus with gas masks and helmets and whatever else. Which helmet's this one? It's just conveniently behind me. Oh, that was the UN one, wasn't it? The blue helmet. The target practice helmet. Put that on. MREs, I normally eat MREs and then do a video talking about if I like the taste of them or not, but I don't stockpile MREs because they're just a very expensive way of basically stockpiling canned food. Yeah, the stuff I've had seized by customs has been the most boring shit ever. So I've bought loads of military shit and that, had it come through customs, no issue. One of the things customs seized and sat on for the entire year, because they obviously lost it and then eventually found it again, was like a plastic mounting thing to put a sat-nav in my old car. So yeah, customs obviously opened that parcel up, didn't know if it was suspicious or not, put it in a pile somewhere and lost it for an entire year until they probably cleared out a desk or something. And I lost that for a year. So the seller refunded me. You know, the seller refunded me, thankfully, and I didn't have any issues. And then, you know, I found another seller that was selling it, I think, in the UK, and it didn't have to come through. But, yeah, so for whatever reason, one of the few parcels I've had seized by customs was a fucking sat-nav mounting, like, little plastic bracket. But I've bought Geiger counters with radioactive sources in, you know, like old bits of military kit, and never had an issue. But yeah, regarding the US MREs, like I said, they're definitely the sort of things I'd like to try. Like I said, I can buy them, it's just they're normally inflated in price. OM90 gas mask, like I said, not a fan of it. I've got one behind me somewhere. There it is. OM90, it's a shit version of the S10. The straps are a bit more comfortable, but it's a 5-point, not a 6-point harness, so that's not good. It's literally a clone of the S10's eyepieces. It's just they're solid plastic there rather than being see-through. So that's not good. You can at least swap the filters over. It does have an easy-to-use blanking plug system, so that's not bad. Drinking tube is a rip-off of the US drinking tube system, so not as good as the Avon one. But yeah, really, this is just a lower quality S10. And like I said, Myra resell the OM90 as the CM7 or whatever they call it for stupidly high amounts of money. So yeah, OM90 I am not a fan of. Yeah, so everybody's saying the US chili rations are good. Like I said, I don't really know, because like I said, when US rations turn up in the UK, they're being sold for like 4 or 5 times the price of other MREs. So I've just not bought, because again, a lot of American kit does turn up in the UK. It's just the price for it is silly for what it is. So it's one of those things where I never normally bother because of that reason. Oh, that's a point. I do want to see where a parcel I've got coming from the US, whereabouts it's got to, if the postage tells me. Purchase history. Track package. Arrived at the international hub, for whoever it is, in Glensdale Heights, Illinois. So it's in Illinois at the moment, my parcel. Probably not coming on very good priority mail. But yeah, I have got an item coming from the US, but it's one of the interesting weird ones. It's an everyday US product from the 60s to the 80s that contained polonium. So I've bought it because of the fact it's got polonium in it, so I can do some videos on polonium. No, I don't think I am, Mason, if it's a channel. No. But again, there's a lot of channels sometimes where they change their names as well, where I might have watched their videos, but if they've changed their names in the meantime, I'm not familiar. But yeah, so yeah, it turns out there was a fucking thing that was in the US from the 60s to 80s. It was designed as a brush for cleaning vinyl records. And yeah, this vinyl record cleaner had polonium in it. All right, cheers, Mason. I'll have to check them out at some point, but yeah. Let's hope not, Kevin, although I don't think it would be good for them if they stole something with polonium in it without knowing what polonium is. But yeah, so there's these US things. I'll look up what they're called for people, because, yeah, again, they're ones you can legally buy. Because I saw a science channel that was showing you how you could buy them to get the polonium out. Because, you know, like I said, I've done that with other radioactive things, so I can do videos on the radioactive sources. It's a nuclear product static master record camera lens cleaning brush. So they're called static masters. Again, this one didn't specify if the polonium's still in it, but I assume it is. And what it is it's like some sort of just like, it looks like a little Hoover / brush thing. And it's designed for cleaning vinyls, but it's got polonium in because apparently it like attracts the dust like static electricity to it. I've got shitloads of Soviet stuff. Well, polonium is most famous in the UK for being used by the Russians to kill that spy, Alexander Litvinenko, where they put it in his tea. Personally, I just want it because it's a really strong alpha emitter for testing with some ionization chambers. So I'm not really going Doc Brown. I'm just more going... it's called polonium, obviously, because... what's her name? Curie, Madame Curie, whatever her first name is. Marie Curie, was it? Discovered it, and she named it after Poland, which was her country, because Poland wasn't Poland at the time because it was occupied. So that's why she called it polonium on the periodic table in honor of Poland. But yeah, I don't actually have any polonium. You know, I've got strontium, I've got americium, I've got cesium, I've got cobalt 60. Again, my cobalt 60 bit is so old and so small, you can barely register it despite it being the scariest thing on earth. Like I said, the strontium 90 I keep in the jar is probably my scariest individual sample. But yeah, and copium. Yeah, I don't have any copium. Yeah, copium should be on the periodic table. Something. What are you asking me if I sprechen Sie Deutsch? Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. Sprechen Sie English, danke. Jawohl. But yeah. So, oh yeah, some carbon-14, got some of that as well. Lots of thorium, lots of uranium. You're learning the Deutsch. Sehr gut. And is that Dutch, Rajiv? Speaking the Dutch. Hello, the train is stooky wooky. Again, Dutch is funny, no offense to lots of Chinesium, but that's not a periodic element. Yeah, Dutch is funny because it's halfway between German and English. So to both people who speak native English or native German, it looks like somebody misspelling your language. I don't know, Psychonaut. If there's only one date on the filter, it's normally the production date. Oh, actually, it completely depends on the nation. But either way, if it's like in the 80s, it's expired regardless, because it's either... Because again, if you've got something like, say, dated 1990, it either meant it expired in 1990 or it was made in 1990 and then expired about 10 years later. As I said, favourite gas mask I've got in terms of being practical and everything is my Avon C50, because that's the one I keep actually on my body armour in its carry satchel, ready to go in an emergency with spare filters and all that, because you can get a good sight picture of basically anything. You can use binoculars with it, you can use night vision with it. It's fairly comfortable. The drinking tube works with my Camelback, so I can use it with Camelback. It's a PRVU, one of the weird Soviet ones, like one of the rocket fuel masks. And Brown Streak says he's got to check my filter for my gas mask. But yeah, so anyway, I was saying about this earlier in the stream, and then we started talking about knives again. What I have got coming in the post, which will be really interesting, I've seen they're really already selling well, even though I haven't seen the YouTubers cover them yet, is the Chinese are now making TF1s in bright red, and apparently it's for industrial reasons. So the Chinese TF1 is basically like very much a Chinese GP5. They're not identical, but they're very similar. They're basically a Soviet helmet mask. I have got a TF1 in this room somewhere. Is that my TF1? That's my MF1A. So it's a TF1 with triangular lenses. So it's basically just the circular lenses like a GP5. But yeah, they're now making bright red ones, and apparently Hype thinks it's for industrial reasons that, you know, they're making them like that. So for people that work in certain industries, they're really visible. But yeah, you can literally buy bright red TF1s now. So I've got 2 on order because I thought I'll fucking order 2. And I did see on AliExpress, they're literally one of the top selling gas mask respirators on there at the moment. But I just think it'd be interesting because, again, I like gas masks that are cool colours rather than just being white or black. Because, again, some nations do green ones for the military. You know, some industrial ones are in like blue or orange and all that. No, like, so Airsoft, annoyingly, JMac, there's not an Airsoft site that close to me. So at one point I have done some Airsoft and I've got some Airsoft guns, but annoyingly, because of YouTube things, I can't get my G36 out, even though it's behind me, to show on a stream, even though I've done the videos on it. But yeah, annoyingly, because the closest Airsoft place to me only did like one Airsoft game once a month on a Sunday that could be called off for bad weather and stuff like that, I never really got into Airsoft. I wanted to, like Airsoft and paintball, but yeah, it's just because there were, you know, even when I had a car, you'd have to drive use up quite a lot of petrol money and have to get the day off work and then arrange with mates to have the days off work. Why don't your parents want you to play Airsoft? They say to buy a real gun. Well, that's cool if you can buy a real gun, but if you're underage and can't play Airsoft, you can't buy a legal gun, can you, in the US anyway? What is weird, Deadly Emu, is there's a guy I used to work with who I get on quite well with. He does watch the streams and that, and now and again he comes over to say hello. And he looks quite a lot like me, and he's also fucking into military history. Although he's got loads and loads of Nazi shit, this guy. He's like the bit off of Father Ted, you know, with the, oh, do you have any of the Allied stuff? No, that wouldn't interest me at all. He's literally that guy from Father Ted, but he looks kind of like me. Because the guy used to joke at work. He says, my brother-in-law looks like you, and he's got the same interests as you. And I thought, oh, he's having me on. And then when I met the guy, I was like, no, he is very similar. And he was the guy I went to the military fair with as well. Are we racist now, Father? Should we all be racist too? Yeah. Yeah, again, mates, and it depends, because if you're like me, all this shit is cluttering up the house and whatever else, you know, because I am kind of just a hoarder of military stuff. But this stuff I can resell, which is good. You know, I could list it on eBay or just sell it person to person and get some money back from it. And it kind of goes with the price of inflation, at least a lot of military stuff, as long as it doesn't end up being the stuff that's outright banned and then you can't legally sell it, like they like doing now and again, like saying like with the fucking blank firers and all that sort of stuff. But obviously for me, I do YouTube videos on it and then I get a bit of money back through YouTube videos. So for me, it's not as kind of bad as people that just hoard random shit that they have absolutely no use for. Yeah, exactly. Because at least anomaly glitch with this sort of stuff, it's not also stuff that rots and like sets, you know, bacteria off or anything like that. Because obviously some hoarder houses are basically ones like where there's dead animals and that in it. Mine is just literally piles and piles of milsurp. At the moment, I'm not looking for anything if you're talking to me, because like I said, at the moment, I'm being careful with my money, because like I said, when I quit my old job, I'm not rushing out to find another job, so I need to be careful what I'm spending. But last month on YouTube, I actually had quite a good month in terms of payment, but it's still, with YouTube, you're always a month behind in the sense that if I earn a load of money in January, I don't get that money till right at the end of February, how YouTube payments work. So, you know, at the moment, I'm having to be quite careful with my money. But what I did in the last couple of months was just go through all the things where I have active subscriptions and cancelled nearly all my active subscriptions, because I was kind of amazed how many like online services I'd subscribed to over the years and then forgot I was subscribed to, and they were still taking money out of my account every month or every year. That's cool, Saint. Yeah, I like AKs as well. Although I like the VZ58 more than the AK. You know, the Czech thing that looks like an AK but isn't an AK is 7.62x39 still. But yeah, I've got a couple of old army blankets, Saint, like that, and they are really nice in the winter if it gets cold enough. But because I'm somebody that tends to I tend to overheat rather than feel cold, a lot of the time I don't even use the blanket. He probably would do at some point, Jimbo, although some of the stuff I don't know how much he wants people to know it. Like, you know, he'll show you in his private collection. But again, because we like on about the Father Ted stuff, he probably wouldn't like to say, here's all my iron crosses and all that, and like, you know, Nazi memorabilia, because people might get the wrong idea. Because again, he does think like me, Hitler was a cunt. But, you know, he just likes the Nazi drip, if you like. He likes the aesthetic of it. He likes all the Nazi shit. I've got an Egyptian AK bayonet there, Kevin. If we get it off again, because I showed this yesterday. It's a fucking pain in the ass because it's a shit bayonet. Yeah, there's my shitty Egyptian AK bayonet on my East German AK. Why did I not go in the forces? Because I'm medically unfit to serve, even if I wanted to. Some of my family were in the forces, but I'm not. Never been. Like I said, yeah, because obviously when I left school, that was around 2010, 2011. And by that point, they'd already done all the cuts. And then obviously, if you're like me with asthma and various things like that, you are medically unfit to serve, full stop. So, yeah, but like I said, I've got a lot of respect for people that do it. It's just like saying personally, I couldn't do it. And that's why I have to keep correcting people when they think, oh, you're ex-army. I'm like, no, of course I'm not. I'm not going to pretend I was in the army when I wasn't. Again, that's the weird thing, Brown Streak. Like, there are various places where, like I was saying before, there are a lot of things I think with militaries or National Guard kind of things. Oh yeah, look, that's even got a really shitty pin through that Egyptian AK bayonet. Like I said, my Romanian AK bayonet's my nice one. That's very similar to the Soviet ones, but this is, you can see all the rust on there as well. Was that Bad Lads Army, that thing, or is it a different thing? Because I've watched the one that used to be like where they put the people through the World War II style thing. Well, Mason, I used to just do a job. Because bear in mind, with how fucked the UK economy is, the hardest bit in the UK is if you're affording rent. What got me into this, because like my granddad, he's still alive, but he's, you know, very frail and elderly now. He's 100, and he was obviously in World War II during D-Day and everything like that. And a lot of the time, he would babysit me when my parents were at work. So I listened to all that and found it really interesting. That was probably, in all honesty, what got me into it. And obviously, if he was babysitting me, he'd just put on something like Where Eagles Dare for me to watch. That's pretty cool, Brown Street. So as long as you're willing to kind of work, they're willing to take you. But yeah, but like I said, that's kind of, I think, the better attitude to have, because I think you could have quite a lot of patriotic people that would want to serve their country, but they have kind of minor disabilities or whatever that for a reservist force wouldn't be that serious. But, you know, like I said, a lot of militaries just do the thing of, there's like a line of, you're fine to serve until you are like 1 point over this line, and then you're completely unfit for service, which is kind of a stupid thing. Because, like, you know, well, again, when nations really go to shit, you need all the reservists you can get and everything. Like I said, so it's like with the Russians at the moment, because of how desperate they are for troops, they've got like people in their 60s now in the you know, Russian military, and people with who are fucking cripples and that. And then those are the people that aren't allowed off the front, are they? They're just sent in a meat wave to die again. But yeah, so like I said, it was just a thing, a case of a lot of my older relatives were all like World War II or like, you know, 50s era sort of army stuff. So I just probably took it in a lot as a kid. You know, my granddad, if he was ever babysitting me, because my parents like going to football games a lot. And what would happen is, because I didn't have any interest in football, I wouldn't go to the football games with them. But if we went somewhere to like some random like city or town in the UK where Oxford United were playing an away game, my grandparents, when they were obviously younger, would babysit me. And then my granddad, if there was an army museum there, he'd want to go to the army museum. So we'd go around and look at all the guns and like medals and things like that in there. So again, and like when I was young, well, I was too young to appreciate it, we went to Normandy and saw obviously all the Operation Overlord stuff, the D-Day stuff, because that's where he was, you know, when he was 18. That was in 44. So, and yeah, saying exactly that the current government, seeing as how many British veterans it portrays. Do I have any medals? Well, I don't have any personally because I've not earned any. I've got an Iron Cross I'm no longer allowed to show on YouTube because the video got taken down for like promoting racial hatred or something. Because, you know, I've got the I suppose I could show you the side if that is on the desk. It might not be on my desk anymore. Yeah, there it is. I can show you the side that's not got the funny symbol on. So hang on. As long as I hold it that way up, it's fine. I can't turn it around and show you what's on the other side of it because it's got a funny symbol on it. So there you go. That's one my granddad looted, but don't worry, he didn't loot it off a body, according to him. Apparently, it was partway through the war, near the end. They were like searching a load of buildings, and they found like loads of SS uniforms where the guys had like taken them off, changed into civilian clothes, and ran away. So they just took all the medals off the SS uniforms. They also took all the knives and that, but then the military police took the knives off of them when they were coming back to the UK. But yeah, he also has annoyingly, I can't remember if I've ever done a video on it, but annoyingly, a lot of it's fallen apart now. But he did give me as well his old watch that was a German military watch that he then wore all the time after the war until he stopped wearing a wristwatch. Oh, the teacher stole it. Yeah, that sounds like a cunty teacher probably stealing it to sell. Can I see your PMG too? If I've got the PMG handy somewhere, hang on. Yeah, there it is. Right, let's put a filter on it. Let's put the GP7 style filter on it. PMK filter, that one. It's just a modern version of it. Right, there you go. Seals and everything. So yeah, there's my PMG2/GP5M. And J Max says he was in UK Forces Airborne from the age of 16 in the junior paras from the older shot days, mate. Did the 75th and 80th anniversary of the D-Day jump. Oh, that's really cool. And the Arnhem Bridge jump in September. Yes, Operation Market Garden as well, yeah. And Devon says he's got 3 British World War I medals from his grandfather gave him. I have no idea how he acquired them. I don't think this is the best gas mask that's cool. Again, it makes your hair look weird when it comes out the sides like that, and Nutty Professor. But let's test if this works properly, because I bet you it still seals properly and works. Yeah, still perfect seal on this. Let's seal this back up before I take the mask off, even though some of it's going to be in the air. Yeah, there's a bit of ammonia in the air still. Like I said, there's the modernised version of it. That's it's got a better voice diaphragm on the modern one, but otherwise it's not. I don't particularly like it. The oh, is that even going to tighten enough on that? I think it might. But the what's this one called? The Shum 2012. So that's the like modern Russian equivalent. This doesn't really give you a better field of view at all with these eyepieces. I think you can see a little bit more to the side there, but you can't see as much further down. But yeah, there you go. Still works fine, but again, I smell like ammonia a little bit. But like I said, the main thing that I don't like with this is with each generation of these, they cheapened out the diaphragm system. Not diaphragm, like the valve system. So if I take that off to show you, so that's just a plastic cover. Literally doesn't do anything, but just a yellow plastic cover. But notice there of the exhale valve, it's just got the single valve there, and that's the inside of the mask, so there's less protection. The old like GP5s have a double valve there. They've got one there and then one lower down. So they've got, you know, like a kind of fail-safe for failure. This only has the one valve. So yeah, this is actually less protective than a GP5 in terms of its valve layout. Well, Mason, they actually started off doing these exactly like the GP5 and all the other Soviet masks to start with, that same metal piece. Then they went to a different design, then they went to this. So basically, with each generation, they came up with a cheaper, crapper design. You know, like the actual voice diaphragm and face, like the rubber bit in the mask is exactly the same with the Shum 2012 for each generation of it. But yeah, the Russians really cheapened the bottom bit out. Or Nipah virus, whatever it's called. Let me have a look. The infected shit virus. Yeah, let's have a look. Nipah virus. Has there been? Let's do news and sort news by like latest. Sort by the most recent. Sort by date. Hang on a second. Uzbekistan has restricted imports from India over the Nipah virus. Nipah virus detected in bats across Indonesia. Some airports are screening people now for it where they weren't doing that before. I'm just seeing if I can find somewhere that's got like what do you call it? I'm just seeing if I can find a thing like with COVID where you get places reporting how many cases they've got. Oh, the Lancet has a thing on it, but this is from 2024. I don't know if they've got an update on it. Because again, like apparently Nipah virus is one of those things that you get a little bit of it all the time in places where people like eat bats and stuff like that. But the problem is because it's got to somewhere like India where people are shitting in the street. This is why it's a problem now. Because it's like normally it's like 1 or 2 people might catch it every now and then and normally die, and then that's it. But you know, there's a much bigger risk of person-to-person transmission. But no, I think like when COVID first started, we've not got too much info on it at the moment. Let me just search Nipah virus infections per week. See if we can get a data type one up on it. The Independent's got an article on it. If this isn't paywall locked, I'll have a read of this. Says again on here that it's 40% to 75% fatality rate. There's no treatment or vaccine. Yeah, they're saying on here that they're getting more worried about it spreading in India, but that's about it. And again, I wouldn't trust necessarily the Indian government to be all that transparent on how dangerous it is. Do I have any 1911s? No, the only 1911 I had was the blank firing one that legally I had to get rid of a while ago. I don't have a DIAC 1911 or anything. Closest I've got to a 1911 is an Airsoft CZ75 that's in the proper colours and everything, you know. I know that's not really a 1911, but it's a kind of similar good pistol, but no, because actual DIAC 1911's a load of money, and like I said, when I did have a blank firing one, the government then decided later on that it was illegal, and because my name was obviously on a registry of having bought it, and I did a fucking video on it. I've got lots of obsolete caliber guns, as in, right, I'll list every obsolete caliber gun I've got that, you know, you can actually shoot if you had the ammo for it. I've got 2 pinfire revolvers. So pinfire revolvers are obviously like a weird old thing where the firing pin is in each individual cartridge. So 2 pinfire revolvers. I've got a little flintlock pistol that I need to put back together. I did do a video on putting that in the ultrasonic cleaner to clear it up. I've got another like old musket-y kind of pistol, like old giant pistol, but it was in really bad condition. So when I took the wood off of it, it had all rotted away underneath. So I mostly, you know, like took it all apart for the pieces, and I've cleaned it, but I haven't again reassembled it. A lot of the wood I'd probably need to carve new wood for it, because it was one of those ones that, you know, on the exterior it looked fine, but then you've got all the rotted shit underneath, so it's completely structurally, you know, and the barrel was completely rusted and everything else. It was more like a spare parts old firer, that one. And I've got a Enfield musket, which is quite cool. Like musketoon or whatever they're called, like the short barrel muskets. Like, you know, the ones that be used in naval stuff or for like not frontline troops. And then I've got a Martini Henry carbine, a Schmidt Rubin 1889 or whatever they are, and the Mannlicher, Steyr Mannlicher, Mannlicher, whatever their proper pronunciation is. Is it 1885, something like that? 1886, can't remember the exact number. And they're all obsolete calibers, so they mean in the UK by law they're fully working guns that you can own, but they're not classed as guns by law for some reason, because they're old like black powder things. And then I've got a couple of air rifles and things like that, and a load of crossbows and bows, but they're not guns. I normally use a USB cable, Saint, and that doesn't work very well, because Windows is really shit for transfer now as well, that sort of stuff. Again, I don't know, that might work better when I get a Linux, I don't know. But for the most part, I often sometimes just use my own password protected Dropbox. I upload stuff to one and download it on the other because it actually works better than using the fucking cable transfer, especially now I've got good fast internet. Which one's M65 camo? I know M65 jackets. Oh, what woodland? What M81 woodland, Mason? Yeah, the 1853 Enfield, I assume, is percussion cap, isn't it, rather than flintlock? Because that's the only annoying thing. Again, like, you probably, unless you're in a shooting club and all this, you shouldn't be shooting them. I suppose if you're on private land and you've got all the black powder stuff, you can do it. But again, I know it's a bit of a can of worms, so I don't talk about this sort of stuff too much because I don't want to say stuff that might be illegal. Yeah, the annoying thing with percussion caps is, in theory, you can buy percussion caps without a license, but I have never found anywhere that sells proper percussion caps without you having a gun license anyway, because it's that kind of bullshit where you can legally own the stuff, but a lot of the sellers don't like selling to you unless you have a gun license anyway, even though you don't by law require a gun license because they want to cover their own asses. Whereas with a flintlock, you can ignite a flintlock absolutely fine if you've got a bit of black powder in the thing, because you can buy replacement flints very easily, or map your own. Percussion caps, you can use other things like, like the cap gun caps. If you get the ones that fit the right size, they do sometimes work as a percussion cap thing, but they're not all that reliable compared to proper, like the proper style percussion caps that would have been used on the military rifles. So yeah, that's the only annoying thing, is that, yeah, if you did get it and then you add all the stuff to legally shoot it, you still might run into the bollocks problem of, people saying, oh, even though you've got this blank fire and you might be going to a gun range to fire it or whatever, we're not going to actually sell you the fucking things to shoot it. ERDL is the Vietnam era one, isn't it, Kevin? Is that the one that looks kind of like tree sort of pattern kind of thing? Leaves pattern, I should say. I quite like ERDL if that's the Vietnam one. I like both DPM and M81, to be honest. There's quite a lot of woodland patterns when you look into it. Like the French have a cool woodland pattern. Again, like I said, my favourite camo that you can currently get, but I don't have any of it, is Finish MO5 camo. Let me get you a picture of it up. If somebody wearing it. That is Finish MO5 camo. Hang on. That is Finish MO5. Like I said, you can get a few variants of that. Like you can get a like fully winter one, and you can get one with bits of snow kind of on the pattern, but not fully snowy. But I really like that. It's kind of similar to Flecktarn, but in every picture I've seen of people wearing it, even the ones that aren't like the staged photos to look as good as possible, Finish MO5 does work really well from what I've seen. Let me just get you some pictures up. It's just one of those camos where I think the fins have come up. I'm going to have to link to Plebit, I'm afraid, but there you go. Oh, wait, I can't link to Plebit because the URLs are too fucking long. Can I get these URLs a bit shorter? Hang on, what I'll do is I'll just open the things in new tabs rather than... Content not viewable in your region. Oh, that's great. Content's not... Oh, hang on, can I shorten that? Can I manually cut that URL down? So where does the JPEG bit end there? So if I delete everything after that, does the image... No, that image doesn't work. This image might work. Yeah. Again, there was another much nicer picture, but because of fucking Plebit, I can't direct link to it. Yeah, same in the UK, Brown Street. Black powder stuff in the UK like the US. Because in the US, it's like, if you're a felon, you can still buy black powder, can't you? And it's a similar thing in the UK, that black powder isn't really considered guns. But again, it's like, if I got my black powder guns and I loaded them up and started shooting them somewhere, I'd probably be in a load of shit if it wasn't at a proper gun range. Because, just randomly discharging a firearm, they'd do you on that. And again, black powder you can buy without a gun license that people don't seem to realise. But I think you can only buy quite small quantities of it at once, unless you've got some sort of explosives license, like a firework license. But again, because of YouTube policies and stuff to do with my country's laws, I won't go too much into it. But black powder is very easy to acquire just from places for people that want it. Again, it's one of those things where I don't think the government cares too much about people doing it, because nobody really bothers hand loading black powder cartridges to shoot. Oh yeah, there are the older finish reversible camo ones as well, aren't there? With like the older kind of pattern on. That does sound good though, J-Mac, but you'd have to try and contact me somewhere off of here, because YouTube will probably stop you saying a lot of that or linking me to anything. It's not Devon, but we probably ought not to go into it because of, you know, the right-wing thugs are trying to make explosives on YouTube, and that's why we're going to have to shut them all down and arrest them. But yeah, although somebody recently did get fucking done by the police over here for having apparently a gunpowder recipe, even though gunpowder is made of free, especially black powder is made of free things. Again, it's probably not even illegal to say. It's what's it? Potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal, isn't it? Something like that. You don't for the guns themselves if they're the old caliber ones. Like, you might for shooting them or whatever, but what I'm saying, J-Mac, is if they're obsolete calibers, you can literally just buy them. Again, I can't list the things here because of YouTube's policies. But if you go on any of the antique stores in the UK that deal in guns, black powder ones will just be on there. You don't need a license. You don't to own them anyway. Again, there's all these sort of various bullshit things about the difference between owning them and taking them out and using them, that kind of thing. But yeah. Oh yeah, I did hear about somebody jailed for right-wing extreme music, but I haven't read into that one. I think, did Dankula do a video on that one? But again, there's lots of ones like that where I've not actually I'm just going to see if I can get another picture up of the Finish MO5 camo in actual use that isn't on a like site that says, oh, you can't look at that because you're not in the right region. There's that same picture again. Maybe this one is a different URL and I can get it up. Let's have a look. No, content not viewable in your region. For some reason, this person's called it MO4, not MO5, even though it's called MO5. Oh, I can directly link to this one. So there you go. There's some MO5. Like I said, MO5 looks like really nice camo, but I don't think anybody does reproductions of it yet, or if they do, they've only started doing it recently. And I know the ex-Finnish Army stuff was very expensive on Varu Strelka or whatever they're called when I looked at it. Like, you can buy the ex-Army stuff, but, you know, like, it was, like, something like £100 a shirt, £100 a pair of trousers, so I never bothered. But it does seem to me a really nice camo. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of Flecton. It's not exactly the same camo, but... Here's an actual image of the actual, like, camo itself, as in, like, the pattern. You know, if you, like, had it printed on a cloth or... That's pretty cool, J-Mac. Yeah, exactly, JJ. But yeah, you could have it printed. But yeah, I don't have an Anglo-Saxon sword. I don't have, like I said, the 1796. Again, this is a reproduction cold steel one, not an original. You can still find the originals in antique places, but they're pretty expensive and normally a bit rusted and, you know, banged up. But yeah, like I said, 1796 sabers are cool. Again, a very big curve on this, but it's actually a surprisingly easy saber to use, as in it's got a good blade profile. You know, the balance is very good on it. It's one that naturally just feels like it works in your hand. Whereas, like I said, some like that US 1860 saber I've got, because it's designed purely for horseback, it's very hard to use it by hand. If you're trying to do a link, Mason, unfortunately, YouTube won't let you do links. It only lets people that like own the channel do links because of their like copyright bullshit. Where did you order it from, Devon? But I'd say get in contact with the seller and say, "Where's my fucking sword?" Yes, he's again. I reckon with a lot of the things with people like that, if you're a big enough channel, they're probably worried that you're going to have good legal protection, as in you can hire a good lawyer. Okay, yeah, mine wasn't from the night shop. I bought mine directly from Cold Steel. Let's see what that is. Artius Super Safety. Let me have a look at that. Well, I certainly can't get that because it's a forced reset selector, and I'm in the UK, so yeah, good luck with that. No, because all they literally are, Saint, is one of those little shitty things on the end of a pellet. Oh, sorry, Brown Street, yeah. But yeah, but like I was saying, I actually think with YouTube, they only like make an example out of people that aren't as popular, because I reckon they know that if you're a channel that makes a lot of money and are very popular, it's going to be an embarrassment for them if all your fans find out what they try and do to prosecute you, and that you can probably afford a really good lawyer, you'd probably fuck them. Because again, a lot of the laws, like I've said before, in the UK that they try and do people on aren't even the very well thought out laws, as in, like, you know, where they ban something, but they very specifically word the ban, or it's so vague that a good lawyer will be able to fuck them over in court if they try and do you on it. It's like with the blank firers, right? I got rid of mine just because, like I said, they knew I had them and that. But I think I said this to other people. With some of the blank firers they specifically banned, they only specified top venting. Half the ones on the list also had side venting variants. So if you had the side venting variant, you know, and they tried to take you to court, a good lawyer would be able to argue, no, what you banned, like, legally to the word of the law wasn't, you know, what you've got, if that makes sense. You know, where they try and do this catch-all thing, but they don't do it properly. Anyway, I won't be on too much longer because I've been on probably about an hour, and like I said, I'm going to shave all my hair off quite soon. Because like I said, it's getting to the point where it's a bit too long for my liking now. Just because, yeah. I have not shot a honey badger, no. I've not shot the animal, nor have I shot the gun. Isn't the honey badger like a suppressed M4 or something? Yeah, the ninja sword thing, like we were saying with the ninja sword thing, it's why you can own a proper katana because it's hand forged and all that, but you can't own the shitty stamped steel ones. But yeah, I'll have to put something on Radioactive that's in a proper playlist because it takes me a while, and when I start getting hairs everywhere, I don't want to touch my phone and get it dirty. Oh, Scott's just come on, just as I was going off. Right, we'll stay on another 5 minutes. Is there a bong mask? No, I don't have any bong masks. So 300 Blackout, is that a bit similar to 7.62x39? I know it's not the same cartridge, but I'm actually quite interested in 300 Blackout. So I hear people talk about it a lot, but I don't actually know much about the cartridge. 7.62x35mm. Okay, so it is very similar to 7.62x39. Is it any better, any worse? Is it like kind of a NATO 7.62x39? So it's a necked up 223, but size-wise, it's similar to so it's like designed to be quiet. I see, yeah. So it is like the Soviet 9x39, yeah, where it's a very heavy bullet specifically, so it doesn't break the sound barrier or whatever. Yeah, I get you now. The one that I always think of with bong masks, though, is the Israeli one, because there were like loads of people that did like the really shitty rubber clones of the Israeli masks, the bong masks, didn't they? The Israeli 4A1, which is technically originally the Draeger Simplex, but yeah. I would think in Days Gone, that's one of the last guns you get, the Honey Badger, as like one of the actual like really good late game guns. Although, if I remember right, there was a gun I preferred to it anyway, so I didn't use it as much. Anyway, is there anything interesting in the news and all that to talk about for a few minutes before I go off? So, what's happening with fucking Mandelson? That Mandelson's home's raided by police. I'm surprised when all this Epstein stuff came out a week ago, the emails, he didn't fucking run off somewhere, Mandelson. Like I said, he should be hung for treason, but sadly they don't hang people for treason anymore. And again, Keir Starmer blaming it on everyone but himself. Oh, when all the people told me he was a liability, I hired him anyway. Why didn't they warn me? So, Starmer's allies warn that Angela Rayner's coup will trigger election. All right, Ange, I hope you do trigger a coup in the Labour Party. Let's get rid of them. Depends how the drinking straws work, Psychonaut. So, do I have any miles behind me of the drinking straw to show you easily? Right. Do it the Chinese one, right? So, if with this, you pull this bit off of the end, the actual canteen connector, you could connect a vape to that and vape through it. However, when a drinking tube has the thing on the bottom of it, it's designed specifically that air and everything can't get into it, because it's kind of like a toggle lock kind of thing that when they're connected to no, you can have actual proper katanas that are built to JMac, the like good standard, the hand forged ones, but you can't buy these like stamped shit metal ones. With a PMG2, not really, because the PMG2 has a giant voice diaphragm. Yeah, you'd need to filter, but that's the thing, you'd need to filter the air going into the vape if you were doing that, because otherwise the poison would still get you through the vape. You know, the vape isn't going to neutralize any poison. But yeah, like I was saying, with the drinking tube things, that's why I've specifically got the Camelback adapters for mine, because when people told me about those, they're really fucking good, because it's so much better drinking from a Camelback through a gas mask than it is holding up the canteen like that. Yeah, if I get the legal thing up with the samurai swords, UK katana laws, basically it's the so here's a place that sells katanas that has a page thing on the law. Look, so basically, is it going to paste the link? There we go. So do they have the thing on it? I posted it yet. The UK law updated 2025. Yeah, so basically they have to be hand forged. So what that means is somebody somewhere has had to have bashed it out, you know, with a proper hammer and anvil kind of thing, like traditional methods or whatever they call it. But they can't have like a stainless steel, say, stamped one that, you know, a machine makes where they make loads and loads per hour. So basically why they did that is it meant it drove all the price of them up. So if you want one, you actually have to spend probably well over £100 on a katana. I think this one was like when Blades and Bows closed down or something, it was like they used to be well over 100, but I think these are all like about 80 to 90 pounds in a clearance sale when I got this one. So basically you have to have the ones that are like the right types of metals. Somebody has to have actually blacksmith made it, not you know, like a machine just stamping them out of like, you know, steel. So if you were to have like literally this exact same sword, but where it was made in like a proper factory, you know, where all the bits are stamped together like a kitchen knife, then it would be illegal, yeah. But if it's hand forged where somebody with a hammer's bashed it out, they're legal. That's just how they made the laws. And like I said, it's a weird, stupid distinction, because if you get chopped up by one, it won't matter if it was stamped or if it was bashed about with a hammer. No, J-Mac, you can literally buy them. Like I said, all the sites still sell them. All those places would be closed down by now if you couldn't buy them like that. It's just like I said, you can't buy the ones anymore that are, you know, like I said, you can't buy the ones like you used to be able to buy that are like the type that used to be, never heard of them. But again, like I said, with katanas, I'm not really into them. I bought one katana for the novelty of owning it. How do the elite defend their houses? They've probably got like very high paid security teams, haven't they? And they live in big gated neighborhoods away from all the criminals. But yeah, so basically, like I said, the weird thing is there's lots of other swords and knives in the UK you can own which are just stamped steel. But for whatever reason, the early 2000s or whenever they changed the laws on katanas, yeah, that was the thing. Again, there's like swords where I've had to get rid of some just to be on the safe side of it. Or not swords, but like big knives where when they kept making the zombie knife laws, because I like it and I get money from doing YouTube videos on things like that. Because I like it, fuck off. You know, say to those people, fuck off and buy whatever you want to spend your money on then. If any of those people have Funko Pops, they have no right to complain if you've got a katana. Like, you know, because I bet you a load of the people that whinge about stuff like that have collect some really boring shit. I've only met a couple of people in my life that haven't had any kind of collection whatsoever. But, you know, I bet you there's going to be people that have Beanie Babies or Funko Pops or anything like that, and then they go, oh, why would you want guns, or why would you want a katana? It's like, why do you want a piece of commercial plastic that looks like shit, you know? So yeah, like I said, there's only a few people I've ever met in my life that have never had any kind of collection of something whatsoever. Well, for women, it's with shoes, isn't it, Mason? They have so many fucking shoes that, like, again, I've got a good load of outside boots. I've got some more formal shoes for, like, job interviews, those kind of jobs, if ever I do those, you know, for wearing with a suit or whatever. And that's about it. I've got one pair of trainers, and I probably won't even replace them with new trainers. I'd probably replace them with lightweight boots. I've only ever drunk Prime once. It was okay, and then I binned the bottle afterwards. I didn't see the point in collecting it. The only, like, actual military style boots I've got well, I've actually got some old East German Jack boots somewhere. But the actual boots I've got are like the ones I like. I think they're either Austrian or German army ones, and they're just really, really well made leather boots. As in, I had a pair of those when I was in sixth form, and they lasted me about 10 years before they fell apart, even though they were secondhand boots by the time I got them. When I've bought, like, boots made by Magnum and companies like that, they normally last me a year before they wear away. So yeah, the ones I've got that I really like. Let me see if I can find you the boots I've got. I think they're Austrian army. They're either Austrian or German. Yeah, it's these things I've got that I really like. Like I said, you can still get them, so I assume they're still making the same design. But oh, that link's too long. Let me see if I can shorten the link down. I'm hoping if I cut the thing down after the question mark, the URL will still work. Yeah, here we go. So these are the boots I really like. Like I said, I've currently got a pair of these, but I haven't had much use for them with what I'm currently doing. But in my old job, I used to use these, and like I said, I bought one pair when I was in sixth form. Used them when I used to work in a warehouse, like every day of the week, or like 5-6 days a week, and they lasted me about 10 years of almost daily wear before they broke down. And I bought another pair like a year or so ago, but I haven't had much use for them yet because I haven't been doing stuff that's required that type of boots. But otherwise, I like kind of like lightweight walking boots kind of boots. But let me have a look at Go Ruck then. But like I said, I'm not currently in the market for new boots, but I always like having good options for when I do need to get that sort of thing. Yeah, some of those look quite nice. I actually quite like the tan sort of brown ones they do, because I always think they look a bit more formal having boots like that rather than the pure black boots. But my shoe size depends on the type of shoes. I'm anywhere between size 9 and 11. Yeah, 9-11, depending on the company that makes the boots. So I normally always have to try shoes on before I decide on them. Because yeah, I know it's a different size in US foot sizes and European foot sizes, but yeah, the problem I have is that some shoes I'm a size 9, some shoes I'm a size 10, some shoes I'm a size 11. It's one of those weird things where, because companies don't seem to reliably actually follow a proper pattern when they make shoe sizes, I have to basically try stuff on to know if it will fit me or not. Because I've got some size 9 shoes that crush my feet, and other size 11s that are way too big for me. But there's others where a size 11 with a thick pair of socks is a perfect fit for me. I have found more recently, every time I bought shoes, they have more reliably always been size 9s and 10s for me now. So maybe companies are getting their act together a bit more. Yeah, and I imagine Florida swamps are pretty good at breaking down boots, aren't they, Kevin, with all the moisture and like the heat and everything else. Because again, that's the thing, isn't it? It depends a bit, because again, like moist, wet environments are going to be the ones that break boots down faster than when you have you know, just a cold environment or like, you know, a standard temperature environment. And also it's like how comfortable your feet are in them, because if you're in somewhere like Florida where it's probably going to be really sweaty, you want boots that like feel nice on your feet. Look up a place called Silverman's London. I will do, and then I'll be off in a minute. Because, like I said, I need to go shave my hair off pretty soon. Genuine military get. I was at Army Surplus. Oh, they've got right on their front page one of the nice prismatic compasses. Oh, it's a proper Francis Barker one though, so it's very expensive. It's 619 quid. Yeah, they've got M73 compasses. Some of you might recognise if I get where my tub is that I've got my compasses in. A moment. Yeah, that's one of these. Well, this is technically a G150, which is a cheaper version they made for the British Army, but it's the same type of compass. Very, very nice compass. And again, I can actually, now I've changed the liquid in it, since I've done that, I can actually read the compass. Yeah, compass tub. It's in a plastic tub, Kevin, because it's not magnetic. When I've tried them in steel biscuit tins before, or like whatever metal, aluminium biscuit tins or whatever, it fucks with the compasses because it's got a magnetic charge to the case. Now, I mean, the problem with a case, you know, having them all together is that the magnets on the compasses do affect each other, but all of these still read the right way. And like I said, my favourite one out of all of these is my Kamenga. As in, this is probably the one I'd actually just use if I went out somewhere. But, yeah, the nice old Lensatic compass. This one's got the trit on, so it actually glows in the dark, which is going to be really hard to show you on camera. Turn that light off because I'm off in a minute anyway. Let me turn both the lights off. And then if I hold that like that and do that, if I can get it, probably see that the tritium is glowing. Yeah. Because, yeah, this is a nice one with the actual active tritium in it. Because, yeah, this is, like I said, this was made in January 26, so it's, yeah, a very new one. So assuming that Kamenga didn't have their tritium sitting around for ages before they put it in a compass, this should last until about 2038 before it starts getting obviously dimmer. No, I'm just shaving all my hair off, not going on my hook. Because like I said, when you're bald, it's good for gas masks. I definitely prefer doing gas mask videos than no hair in terms of the straps not pulling at your hair and anything like that. Again, I need to actually get a video done on this because, hang on a second, I'll keep that out because I want to do a video on it tomorrow before I forget. Let's put the compasses back over here, and then, because I wanted to do a video whinging and whining and moaning about how bad these things are. It's old little original Soviet shitty wrapping paper. Bin that because I'm not going to bother keeping the paper. The Soviet wristwatch compass that they started using in something like 1917 or something like that. 1919 was it? And then they kept still using these up until the fall of the Soviet Union. And these are pretty fucking trash. But it's an interesting compass. They look cool. They're awful if you actually want to use them though. They're basically the same as a diver's compass, but just nowhere near as good. So if I pull that out, they should both, in theory, go to point the same way for the arrow. This one, is it gonna point north eventually? Yeah, it's this. Like I said, the problem with these is of how much needle drift you get. Whereas, so the north arrow should be pointing roughly that direction behind me, like this one is. Again, the problem with these compasses is as soon as you get them near a magnet, they start fucking up. And there's lots of magnets and magnetic fields in this room. But yeah, the Soviet one, it keeps drifting so much. And again, the Soviets, this is the other interesting thing, never did a mill system like NATO. So good luck giving accurate bearings to anybody. But like I said, the thing I like with these compasses, the dive style compasses, is you can actually look through there and get your bearing that way. So similar to like, you know, a prismatic compass or a lensatic compass, you can look somewhere and I could say, assuming that this compass is currently looking in the right direction, which it is, because I've just looked to where the north arrow is, I can say that that's about 100 degrees that way I'm looking now, because you can look through the thing. This also has really good lume on this compass. It's not tritium, but it's you know, like a really good. I'll just quickly charge it up and then show you. Yeah, I need to do a video complaining about Soviet compasses tomorrow. Oxfordshire is where I am in the UK. Won't say more than that. Right, let's just see if I can give that a quick charge. Like I said, then I'll be off in a minute. I have got a UV light, but I don't have it handy, so I can't easily just do it with the UV light. Right, let's charge it a bit. So you can see that's quite a good glow on that from just charging, not even via UV for a bit, but I'm not from Bradford. Right, anyway, so yeah, I will do a video comparing the shit Soviet one to a good quality one. Anyway, have a good day, everybody. I will be on hopefully tomorrow, but the main thing I want to do tomorrow is actually get a load of videos filmed, because I've got a day where, you know, I can get stuff filmed without people interrupting me. So I want to, you know, like tomorrow mostly get a load of videos made. Because I'm, like I said, because I'm on holiday for a few days later this month, what I want to do is make sure I get a load of videos filmed and put up. So I'm not going to cut my ears off. It's pretty hard with electric clippers to cut your ears off. But yeah, I want to actually, you know, just get ahead of the date I'm back via videos. So if whatever happens, you know, the next couple of weeks, I don't get a chance to make any more videos, I'm at least, you know, ahead of the game in that way. Because like I said, I always like being a bit ahead with videos in terms of scheduled videos. That way, you know, if I'm ill or something comes up on a day and I can't get videos filmed, there's still at least a daily video up for anybody that subscribes to the channel who watches me daily. So I'm just trying to do it that way. And I need to do a review of this and the other knife sharpener as well. Anyway, I will see you all hopefully tomorrow for a stream. If not, I'll see you Sunday for a stream, hopefully. Right, bye.